Great, so the next step in solving these equations is using the distributive property and doing some solving. So we're combining all of these parts, but we're just going to start off kind of slow with the distributive property. But by the end of this worksheet, you'll see that when we're using the distributive property here, that we can combine and we can do any of the other steps that we were doing before in order to get this to be done. So first thing is that you should recognize that this is distributive property. And so I need to use the distributive property here. So I've got negative 3 times negative 5x, which gives me 15x. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12, is equal to negative 102. Okay, and so it's normal distributive property stuff. Now I look and see, hey, I've got a nice friendly equation here. So go ahead and solve this. Get rid of the adding and subtracting first. Negative 102 plus 12 is equal to 90. 15 times x, so I divide by 15. And x is equal to 90 divided by 15 is 4. That's not true. It's a 6. 90 divided by 15 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 1 plus 3 gives us 90. So those aren't too bad. After you use the distributive property, you end up getting just a nice friendly equation on a problem like that. When I get to number 5, still looks like a distributive property problem, so do the distributive property. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 3x is 12x. Now I've got a situation where I've got like terms on the same side of the equal sign, so I want to just combine those. I don't want to do any moving. I'm on the same side of the equal sign, so 4x plus 12x is 16x is equal to 8. This is not a guessing game, so don't guess here. Okay? If you're guessing, more often than not, you will guess a 2, and that's not correct because 16 times 2 is not 8. Okay? And 8 times 2 is 16. So I want to go through and I want to use the process. 16 times x, so I want to divide by 16, and I get x is equal to 8 over 16, which reduces 8 goes into 8 one time and into 16 twice, and so I get x is equal to 1/2 here. Okay, do not use a guessing game. Mathematics is not a guessing game. You can use guess and check in order to go through this, but you would have to go through and do the checking part. And if you're doing the checking correctly, then you're going to find out that guessing is not the way you want to go about these problems. And here's the reason why. When I look at number 9, if I'm guessing on this problem, then I'm doing a ton of work here. Okay, I don't want to guess. Don't waste your time guessing. Okay, and look at this and say, oh, well, I have distributive property over here. Let me get rid of these parentheses first. So I've got 6k plus 4 is equal to 40 minus 18 minus 6k, and then 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 times 3k is 18k. So now I've got a bunch of things on the right-hand side of the equal sign here that are like terms. I've got 40 minus 18 and plus 6. Those are all like terms. And so I've got, on the left, nothing is like terms, so I'm going to have just 6k plus 4. On the right, though, I've got that 40 minus 18, which is 22. And then I've got 22 plus 6, which is 28. I've also got some k's in here. I've got negative 6k plus 18k. I'm not doing any opposite operations because I'm not moving anything. They're all on the same side. So negative 6k plus 18k is positive 12k. Now I want to look at this as a whole again and say, well, I've got k's on both sides here. And so I'm going to take away the smaller one. So the smaller one is the 6k, so I'm going to take away 6k. So 6k minus 6k cancels out, and I just get a 4 over here. 28's still there. 12k minus 6k is 6k. Now I've got a nice friendly equation. I can do these nice friendly equations because this is the point where after I've done all the work, I'm comfortable with this. So I subtract 28 from both sides. 4 minus 28 is negative 24. is equal to 6k, divide by 6, and end up with k is equal to 6 times 4 is 24. And so I end up with k equals -4. That would be a tough number to guess out of this problem. Don't guess. Right? Do not guess. So as I continue down a little bit, let's pick one that has some negatives in it here. Like let's say number 13 here. So I've got a negative on the outside of this set of parentheses. You have to know that that is a -1. That -1 gets distributed in. And so I've got -1 times 1 is -1. -1 times 7 is -7x. Then I've got another set of distributive property here. -6 times -7. 6 times 7 is 42. Negative times a negative makes this a positive. -6 times -x. Negative times a negative makes it a positive. 6 times x is 6x equals 36. Again, if you're using the river idea, go ahead and draw that in. That's fine. I've got all on the same side. I've got a -1 and a 42. Well, -1 plus 42 is 41. I also have a -7x plus 6x, which is -1x. And then I've got plus this, still equal to 36 on the right-hand side here. Well, now that I've simplified that, I've got a nice friendly equation already. I don't have to do any extra work. So I'm going to subtract 41 from both sides. I still have a -1x over here. Don't lose the negative. 36 minus 41 is -5. This -1 has to be divided off. And so I end up with x is equal to a +5. -5 divided by -1 gives me a +5. Okay, going through and doing the distributive property. Those are all of the situations that you're going to come about when you're doing these problems. Some of them turn into a nice friendly equation right away. Some of them have variables on the same side. Some of them have variables on opposite sides. And some of them have both, like number 9 had all of those things. Okay, so please go through, make sure you're looking at these, going through and solving using the correct steps, and take your time on the problems. Do each step and show your work. You have to show your work in order to be guaranteeing yourself that you're getting these problems correct. Okay, it's about the process, not about the answer.